We will begin the Zoning Board of Appeals opening meeting. Current members, Christina Pedoni, Dave Femia, Charlie Witkiss, Raj Kumar, and Will Turner. First item on the agenda is the informational discussion regarding 94 North Main Street.
90 Sterling Street.
94
Oh, no.
North Main Street. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of 94 North Main Street? I will give them 2 minutes, and then we will move on to the next agenda item, which will be informational discussion regarding 90 Sterling Street.
To 94 North Main Street.
Occasionally.
Okay. Raj, have you been up there? To 94 North Main Street?
Say again?
Have you been up to 94?
Yeah.
What's it look like? A mess?
It looks okay.
Okay.
It's a construction area.
Okay.
Is everyone comfortable with moving on to the informational discussion regarding 90 Sterling Street?
Yep.
Toby, can you make note that no one from 94 North Main Street attended the meeting? I'd like a letter sent out to them asking what happened and why we were given no notice. And then I would like a phone call.
A call to you?
Yep. You know what, if you want to maybe prop it on a chair. On this, though, I'd say we're gonna, you want to step away?
Yeah, I have to
So,
recuse myself, because I
Mr.
live right next door to you guys.
So he needs to recuse himself. Robin? If it's his comfort level, so if to have someone else involved, so Robin,
This
I'd
way
ask
that-
that you step in
This way, there's no
on this one, just
issue.
because you haven't attended a meeting and David's been able to attend one before. So what I'll do is she'll attend this one, and the next one, David, you will step in place for someone that steps out. You're welcome. All right, so can you just note in the minutes that we swapped? All right. So you guys have gone back and forth on this. You were in front of us, then you went to the planning board, now you're back in front of us. So, why don't you give me a little information, or enlighten me more than I've read?
Okay, so my name is Craig Wombold. I purchased 90 Sterling Street this winter, made an agreement and closed on it this spring. Basically, don't have my engineer, Hancock Associates, with us this evening, or representation, because of the informal nature. We thought we would just come in and present the easel. It's here. We are under the understanding that we have a legal non-conforming use with the hotel. Everybody, I don't think I've met one person who wants the hotel to continue to stay in the town. Our desire is to simply change that property into multi-dwelling units. Right now, currently, there's 39 rooms and also a manager's suite that is a 2/3, so arguably 42 rooms in the hotel. And we are looking to expand. Taking a seat with that. We're looking to expand the non-conforming use, or to alter the non-conforming use to something that is under section 1.4 of the zoning bylaw, we're able to do that relative as long as the neighborhood isn't more detrimentally affected or if it's in character with the neighborhood. Since there's so many multi-use rental properties.
I actually find this very amusing.
That's great.
I needed something a little lighter today. This is helping.
Oh, God. All right, so our agenda right now is just to come in and to discuss this with you guys, get your read on it. We did take a little detour through the planning board already, had some, there we go. All right, had some conversation with them. Obviously, the plan isn't developed to the point of a planning board plan with plantings and fencing and all of the details that would be incorporated in that plan. So our agenda is to get the board's feeling on the proposed use. What we suggested is 6 buildings, sort of cluster housing, most of the units being 3 units. They're townhomes, roughly 1,200 square feet on 2 floors, plus an additional 400 to 600 square feet in the basement, okay?
It's very similar to this development right across the driveway here.
The site, that's what I was trying to think of. So it's going to be something where it's like 2 or 3, so 3 units,
3 units,
per
yeah.
3 floors up.
This would
2?
be 2 floors.
It's 2 floors.
Okay. So you would actually be ripping out the hotel that's there,
Everything.
everything that's there,
Yeah.
and building, I'm watching Dave, sorry, and building the units. These rentals,
That's not our intention. Our intention is to sell.
sell
the
them.
units, Yeah.
It's what?
It's not our intention
to
to
sell
rent
them
them,
as
it's to sell them
condominiums,
as
sir.
condos.
I still don't understand.
We're gonna sell them as condominium units.
Okay, that's,
Right.
okay.
Yeah,
But
so
you're not gonna sell them or rent them out.
No,
No.
private ownership. I think the biggest thing with the informational sort of nature of this meeting from getting off with planning board the other night is really trying to decide how to go through the process because of the slightly unusual nature of taking a non-conforming use and altering it. And so kind of coming out of there and then coming back here, what we're really looking for is 2 things. Your general feedback to see if we're gonna continue in this nature, but also how to. Do we come before you guys and simultaneously go through planning board, which has been suggested by some on the planning board, is to sort of do a dual path, versus going to planning board with a full blown out set of drawings and all the engineering work 100% completed, or is there a way to do it more efficiently? I mean, just even our informational meeting the other night, there was at least a half a dozen really good suggestions from members of the board that would, go into a final design, final plan. Everything from landscaping and screening to dumpster location to, I mean, there were just lots of stuff discussed.
Snow
drainage
storage,
and-
parking.
Exactly, yeah, shade, trees, lighting, I mean, it was a pretty darn good meeting considering it was only an informational meeting. But, our engineer came out of there basically with a list of to-dos. And, this being the next step, just to get a general feedback from you guys on the project itself, but also the direction, how to go forward, because I know from a legal standpoint, the ZBA can issue an amended special permit, and, whether we go through that process first, and then go to planning board, or, so, that's why we're here.
As built, when you look at that thing and you guys build it, is it anything like the project that's over there on, near Jerry's Hardware in Worcester? That's a 2-story apartment place that they sell the things to, and I think they rent them there too.
Yeah, I'm not.
Is it gonna be
I'm
anything
personally not
like
familiar.
that?
Are you? No.
I'm not
Don't know the
familiar with
area.
that location.
No.
You guys were saying though it's like
Very similar to what's
similar
over
to the
here.
structures
They're all-
right behind us? Yeah.
Yeah.
The design's very new, traditional, New England-looking homes, set with the natural grade of the property goes down, which we won't be changing, so they'll be stepping with the grade, trying to, keep the topography basically very similar to what it is now.
And you'd sell them off as condos, so there'd be a maintenance company to maintain the land,
Yes.
snow removal.
Yeah, no, we would develop an association that, is specifically responsible for all of that, whether it's subcontracted to a local private contractor to do all that, or we decide to do it, but there will be an association for perpetuity.
Mark, can you, you don't have to raise your hand, can you come and take that wonderful seat next there and talk to us?
Okay.
You could sit, or stand, whatever you want to do.
I'll sit. That's all. As a procedural thing, I was thinking that it would be the special permit and the site plan analysis and all the engineering work could be handled by the planning board. But the way I was reading the rules on conforming plots, and you're trying to, modify them, it sounds, when I read it, and I asked for some clarification, but I don't know exactly how it would go. It would sound like your board would look at it and determine whether you thought it was an improvement to the neighborhood. There was some verbiage in the bylaw.
It specifically says, as long as the change is not detrimental to the neighborhood. That's the specific verbiage on that.
I mean, it's like
that
that
law.
sort of thing you have to evaluate and decide if that's what it does. Knowing what the hotel was and how problematic that has been, I don't think that it's gonna be I don't know what they could do to make it worse, But it would seem like all you have to do would be to approve the application, and then we could go forward, because the site plan and all that that version of the site plan is a planning board, I believe it's a planning board approval. That special permit would be the planning board's, would be the granting authority. for
That's
that
our
special permit.
understanding, is
Yeah.
that this board has to move to approve the
idea.
project, and then you actually, the specifics go to you.
Right, and so I'm just trying to make it easier on your board. I don't know if you have to have a public hearing, but I'm not sure. That's the unclear part of my interpretation of the bylaw.
So I would feel, because we published a public hearing, and I do feel that it would be a change to the current use, even though it
Yeah,
is
change of use and
it's a
yeah.
change of use, there should be a public hearing. With that information, though, we would have had one this evening. I do feel, and I've talked to Toby about this, there was notice sent to the abutters, but then on the website, there was also a cancellation. So I feel it's unfair to the abutters to have a public hearing on the matter or to vote on it without giving everyone their fair chance to come forward. So my recommendation, I know you've been bounced back and forth, but I can tell you by what I see here, you're probably not ready to have us look this over, because I probably have a list of things that aren't on here. So I'd say our next meeting is July
21st.
21st.
Those lines.
Third.
I mean, I don't know how much detail you want to look into it, or
I want to
deal
make,
with it in a more higher level thing.
so I want to make sure that I have had a good chance to read
Yep.
Section 640A, everyone here has, and then really get their opinions during it. Personally, he's probably right. I can't imagine anyone
Make it work.
would want to.
I do have one comment. The motel rooms are 39, right?
I'm sorry?
The motel,
Existing efficiencies.
existing is 39, and you are proposing 24 units.
So it's existing 39 plus a manager's office of another two
Yeah.
bedrooms.
It's all one rooms, right? 39 rooms. It's
Yeah,
not
but-
like a 39 condos were there.
Well, they're efficiencies. They're two-bedroom with kitchen and sitting room currently. They're not hotel rooms. They're actual efficiencies with separate rooms.
So what you are proposing to build, 24 all 2 bedrooms?
24, yeah.
All two bedrooms?
There is, we're looking at plans and market, so there may be some 3 bedrooms, but
Uh-huh.
the layout right now takes that into account.
I do feel, considering the neighborhood, I do feel the unit numbers are more. It's a lot of clustering, it's too much congested in that area to put that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 24 units. That's my only concern over there. Agree? There are too many buildings, maybe,
But you made a suggestion the other night that you would like to possibly reduce the number of buildings.
that's what I
and
said.
it would keep the same number of units, but the building separation would be different. And so, I mean, you would actually mention maybe bringing this a different shape, which is something, I know that Joe, the engineer, Joe Pesnola, actually took note of your suggestion at that meeting.
Yeah, that makes sense, but still, considering the neighborhood, how many, the entire area next to that condo complex over there. So this, for me, it seems to be, the number of units seems to be much more, or too many.
We had discussed in the meeting too, relative to the number of units, the potential of doing some percentage, a portion of those to help if the town's affordable. So that's something that we'd put on the table, obviously,
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
that we would be open to discussing some portion of those units being affordable.
That may
Relative
be,
to the overall, but, obviously not reducing our units and then giving affordable too. It would be some combination of the two.
so that may be one of the issues, it might come back during the public hearing. So maybe you could think of, consider lowering the number of units.
Well, consider lowering the number of units,
Number
or
of units,
consider lowering
Not the building, number of units.
I'm just gonna ask a question. Is the concern like a traffic
Too much.
concern or just too many people in the place?
Considering that land area, so compared to the
Well,
The adjacent building.
I was just gonna give them options. I mean, they might, like you suggested before, put buildings together or something like that to make it fit better. But if it's just too many people, you can't congest. If it's too much congestion, it's too much congestion. But if it's land work, I mean, there's something you can work out, I mean, I just want to tie on which is the higher, which is the concern. I mean, it's a burden on the streets, like there's gonna be too many cars coming in the intersection, or is it too many, is it just the land doesn't seem like it can support it?
So even if that in the middle building,
Yes.
so that 3 units, so if it is, in between the bigger building, yeah. So if that is not there, it may look better, and also it may be, I don't know, that's one of these things, I
Yeah,
think.
I mean, certainly that can be, I just wanna give, the.
Yeah, no, I mean, we appreciate the discussion, that's.
I thought it seemed like more than an improvement when I read about the non-conforming. Do I agree it's improved? Yes, anything would improve, but to me, this seemed a bit substantial. So to me, it seemed a little more than an improvement. I think I thought similar to Raj, it could be an improvement and be less. It seemed,
I haven't done the
Substantial.
research, can I respond? I haven't done the research, but I was gonna compare it to other, like across the street, up the street, I think there's another little complex. And there's the one right behind it, there's that complex. And I was gonna compare sort of their units per acre or something like that.
Density, yeah.
Is that their density, and just see how it measures up. I mean, I haven't done it yet, I don't know how that works out, but I mean, that would be a nice.
I know that Joe, the engineer, had done some research on existing condo units like this, and, he has different ratios that have been used in the past before he determined the number of units, as well as, the parking spaces and sewer, drainage. He's done all that preliminary work, but again, for our discussions, we didn't want to go to the next level until we
Exactly.
got, right.
I guess that's also a concern, if how much more work to do before that public hearing, I guess. I mean, I'm just
Well,
trying to advocate for everybody, to get enough information from the board and the public but not have them do too much.
Right, I know if there's an actual official public hearing with the ZBA, you know, Joe would be here, and he will go through the requirements for the ZBA meeting, so he's prepared for it, whereas this is really just an informational discussion.
Exactly, I mean, so tonight's not an iron
How
out.
many acres did you buy?
So 1.5.
And I remember our meeting.
And so we're trying to make, obviously make an economic decision around this too, which is, where's the best equity? Is the best equity in its current use, or is the best equity, trying to do what we're trying to do, or a different,
Right, no, exactly.
path? So, that's why we're here, and obviously take note to what you say. I'm hesitant to just move off of the number of units immediately, because that sort of,
Makes it hard.
well, it makes it more difficult for us to get the project done, but it also makes it more difficult for us to put a number of units on the table for, low income.
You're not proposing a low income,
I'm sorry?
you're not proposing low income housing.
No, we discussed at the planning,
Affordable housing.
affordable housing is,
Percentage.
yeah, some number of units that would go. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, I just wanted to give him a minute, I'll let him talk in a second.
Okay.
But you would propose to them a number of affordable units?
Well,
We asked if they would.
we asked and they asked and we said we would consider it.
Is that because that seemed more palatable to you?
No, that's just what we ask everybody.
Okay.
All right, sir, could you just state your name
My name is Richard Buron,
and address?
and 114 Sterling Street. My property is right next to a motel. And my main concern, naturally, I don't want to see a lot of units there, but there's a fence between the motel and my house. Thing been there for 30 years. It's fallen down. I'd like to see at least a fence there. I realize there's gonna be something put there, whether it's 24 units or 10, but I'd like to see a fence.
Are you the gentleman with the pool in the back?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that would definitely be a part of our plan, is to shield your yard
That's all I care
100%, yeah.
One of the things that we often do is we'll do a barrier, we'll berm up some soil so you get some height, and we mix green, plants, trees, and fencing, and that way you have a more natural barrier too. And it grows. Fences don't grow.
Very good. That's all I care about.
It was the easiest public comment ever, thank you. Oh God, I feel like we got in the meeting now. Is there anyone else?
Quick, just take a vote.
Mr. Femia, you recuse yourself from.
86 Sterling Street. I live in the 8 condos that abut this property, and,
Is it right this corner here that I'm seeing?
Yes.
Those are the, okay.
I've lived there for 14 years with that monstrosity. And it's, anything that these gentlemen can do to improve that area is highly acceptable to me. And I talked to some of the other condo units owners. We had a unit owner that tried for 2 years to sell his condo but couldn't because of the motel. It wasn't until after the motel was closed and Big Daddy Realty bought it that he was able to finally sell his condo unit.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off just one second. For the record, I have to tell you where the name came from, okay? I can't, Will is smirking, and I am changing this tomorrow. But years ago, I played softball. My attorney, I went in to buy a piece of property in Sudbury. I run a flower business too. And when I went to sign on the closing of the property, the night before, I had hit 4 home runs. I went in, and that was the name that he chose and filed my realty company under, and I've kind of lived with that, and you're not the first one to smirk, so I apologize. Go right ahead.
I think it's a great name, but anyways, so whatever they can do to improve it. I know I had a conversation with this gentleman, and the first thing I asked was if he was gonna keep the motel, and he said no. As far as being detrimental, I don't think it would be detrimental. I think it would be a highly great improvement, and it would improve the values of our property.
What if this is not approved? What would you do with that property?
We would look at,
We haven't thought negatively yet, you know?
yeah, honestly, I haven't really thought too negatively about it. I know that the town, before we purchased it, we took the temperature of people that we knew in the community. So realistically, look, I don't want to be in the hotel business. Could we improve the hotel and then
One of the things
back
that we
into
did,
business?
excuse me, one
Go
of the
ahead.
things we did look at actually is taking the existing structures and essentially removing the barrier between every 2 units, you've made them into one, and making it into apartments or garden-style condos, by essentially taking out the non-bearing wall in between 2 units and making them into one big unit. So you'd cut the number of units in there, so it's roughly 40, you'd cut it down to 20, but all the existing structures would stay.
How many, Mr. Femia, how many condos are in the unit? you got? So you have 8 separate condos, and it's only one.
One building. They were built in 1978 as apartments, and then in 1999, 2000, they were converted into condos for sale.
Can you ask me how many acres that piece is?
We have twice the amount of weight on the baby.
Charlie? Robin?
I don't know.
You have to say something.
I like his ideas, I'm just taking it all in.
That's the only concern I had.
I understand
and,
what he's saying.
Other than that, I have no issue. The condos are good compared to the motel.
I mean, personally, I don't want to see that motel there any longer. I think even converting the inside of it, it's just such an eyesore. Driving through and seeing that, it just makes that area, which is actually a really nice area, look. I will agree with them, there's a lot of buildings there, but I'm also thinking, you take one of the buildings away, I mean, really, what's one building, give or take? I mean, if you were gonna downsize, if you took one building out, I mean, what is, that's
It
not
looks
really cutting. I mean, even if you took the one building out and put it on here, I'd hate to see another complex go up that's just a big square rectangular box.
I mean,
That just looks like it belongs somewhere in a
Well,
there's
rural
tricks that
city.
tricks an architect can do, like push it way back off the street so it seems like there's a lot of property, but everything's just sort of far away from the street, so that's what it seems like. I mean, there's things they can do to make it, more palatable a little
Well,
bit.
the
but
biggest
it's just
thing, I'm sorry, the biggest thing with this property is it's a natural slope down. So it's not like a big flat piece of land where you're looking in and you're seeing all these buildings. It is going to be built with the topography. So it's gonna be much more subtle certainly than what's there now. And even with all this work, we reduced the pavement by about 40% from what's there currently. And so that anything that's not pavement can become garden area, and so there's a fair amount of landscaping built into the projects that we do anyway. It changes it quite a bit, and landscaping grows, so it continues to look less and less noticeable.
And so Mark, your thought on this is, oops, sorry, Charlie. I didn't see the hand.
Is there going to be a maintenance person that live on that property all the time?
We have not planned that far ahead. There will be, at the very least, there'll be a maintenance firm. It is possible that that's something that we could think about doing, but we have not thought that far ahead.
In general developments like that, we would have a homeowners association, and they would have.
They would hire their own
responsibility for keeping that
maintenance.
together.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Angel Brook, all of them have it.
They're all supposed to have it.
Did you think about a community center, one of the apartments or something for a community place to meet for all those people?
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Definitely something that we'll think about as we do the plan, where they can have associating meetings, and if somebody's having a big party, they could use it. It's a great idea, something to think about.
Oh, you work on it.
Yeah, yes, we will.
Mark, so your thought is, normally we see these plans and we go through I mean, even the turn going into the driveway, what's the curb cut? Your thought is just us going by the section Mass General Law and our zoning laws, just saying, looking at this as betterment of the community, looking at it, it's already a non-conforming, is what they're proposing better or worse than what's currently there?
And if you, yeah, but go that way, and rather than getting them to work out all of the engineering details before we decide that it's not what you want, you know, or we want.
And name, address,
Yes, Chris Olson, 74 Newton Street. I'm also a member of the planning board.
I brought, you know, safety enough.
so, I will say, I might not be comfortable with this, because now I have 3 members
Well, yeah,
of the
I was
planning.
just-
I was gonna say, we actually legally can't do this, because this would be an open meeting law violation for you
But
guys. He's on the
That's
board of the
why
plan.
I'm like-
That's why you can't, yeah, I was like, you can't really have when you sit across multiple boards, so I can't actually have you speak. Because it would be an open meeting law violation, there's 3 of you talking about the same topic.
Can I go outside and see what he was gonna say?
If you wanna leave, you cannot respond to anything he says. Is that fine with you? I just can't have all 3 of you. The other member of the planning board.
Oh, I'll leave, and he can have a shot, yeah.
All right, so 5 minutes, you can return.
Sure, I'm out.
I'm gonna take this and go get my steps in.
She's funny.
I'm just trying to recall some of the things that we talked about at the meeting last week. And I think, so a couple of them were, first of all, with regard to the use. But right now, I think we all understand that the current use of the motel is a non-conforming use. Certainly I'm not sure whether it's actually legally non-conforming or not. I don't know if there was a variance or anything along those lines, but be that as it may, the current use is a non-conforming use under our schedule of use bylaw. However, the use that they're proposing is an allowed use with a special permit from the planning board. So that's the multifamily use where there's more than 4 units. That's allowed site plan review and special permit from the planning board. So in that sense, the use, the nonconformity would appear as if it's certainly getting better, if not going away completely. Now, as to the structures that are being proposed, we had briefly talked about some of the sections under 4.3 of the town bylaws, specifically 4.3A, I believe, and also 4.3B is also potentially relevant. So specifically with regard to 4.3A, I'll just, very briefly, I'll just sort of summarize it. It's specific as to modifications to dimensional requirements, and it's specifically talking about multifamily dwellings. It mentions multiple dwelling use. The minimum lot area shall be 10,000 square feet for each dwelling unit on lots where sewer service is available, and a larger, amount of square feet where you don't have sewer service. Now, in this case, again, I think that the current structure is non-conforming there. What they seem to be suggesting is probably also non-conforming. So perhaps the question for this board to address is whether the current non-conformity in comparison with the proposed non-conformity, is it an improvement? Is it better? Is it more detrimental to the neighborhood, or is it?
On your number 2, because I know you read number 1,
Yes,
maximum number of dwelling units
yes,
shall not be greater than 12 units.
right. So that's another one, where right now it's non-conforming. They're also proposing
A non-conforming.
So I guess the question under the special permit aspect is what they're proposing more detrimental to the neighborhood than what's currently there.
But it could be an improvement without having, it just seems, I don't know, I like things structured, and to take that improvement and just say, of course, and, I mean, anything's.
Right.
That's my concern.
And
That's
where
all. It just seems, it's so much more, and I understand, I absolutely get the whole economic reason behind it, and I'm not tipping my hand in any way, I'm just telling you that just to hinge it on that word improvement unsettles me a little
and
bit.
so I think that was the question that we bumped up against, at the planning
Right.
board, was section 1.4. How does that play itself
Right.
out? And what, I mean, it's your, you know, authority or your jurisdiction to answer that question. That was the question that I think that we had, and it was addressed.
And I'd have to concur, because I'm kind of looking at this and I'm trying to put in my head where, I mean, I've actually never, since I've been on the board, we've never had the planning board do a permit for a special permit like this without it actually being in front of us. Not that we would trump it, but normally these kind of site work, building structures, I mean, this is actually what we do. So I guess I have to ask you, where do you see that this would be something that would go to the planning board and not our board?
Under the schedule of use, which is what, section 3.1, I believe? 3.2. Under section 3.2. You look under, so this is in the general residence district on Sterling Street. You look under the residential uses, which is what is being proposed. It says multifamily more than 4 units under 3.2B3. It says under general residence SPR. If you look up in section 3.1, it says SPR use permitted only by special permit issued by the planning board. So this seems similar to sort of the last project, which I recall, which is not the same, but similar to this, is sort of the Cumberland Farms, where they had to come before you for fuel use, they had to come before you for, I think, 24 hours, but they still had to come to our board for SPR purposes.
On their,
We
the
didn't have
second
to
one.
give them a special permit,
Mhm.
but they still had to come before both boards.
What do you think of the number of units? Do you think should be okay or too many?
In my mind, I would look at it sort of relative to what is there now.
Yes.
Is it an improvement relative to what is
It does improvement,
I
but
think that's the question.
I think it's also a question for the neighborhood.
I would agree,
So
which
I
is why
don't
think a
fully
public
agree
hearing
it's
is
just
the
that.
way to go about it.
I'm sorry, I talked over you. What was that?
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm just advocating for, that's all the more reason why I think a public hearing.
Right, oh, I couldn't
here
agree
is-
more,
is-
yeah.
Is clearly appropriate.
Right.
To give the neighbors an opportunity to be heard if they do have
Right,
these types of concerns. Or if, like Mr. Finley or others.
Absolutely,
if they seem
yeah.
generally
get the
in favor.
pulse of it.
But I believe, we touched upon these at the meeting last week. And I think sort of where we left it was, it appeared like this was an issue where there were certain things needed from the ZBA and certain other things needed from the planning board for this project, not unlike some other projects that we've seen in the past.
Can you just remind me, I wish I was just more familiar with the planning board. Do you have open public hearings?
Yes,
You do.
yes.
So you,
For site plan review, we're required to hold public.
but only site plan review, not to actually issue them a permit.
For a special permit, we would also have a public hearing for that as well. So it would be held sort of in the same, at the same time. It would all be taken care of at once before our board.
Does anyone have any further questions?
Yes,
Charlie does?
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I look at this, have you guys done anything with cluster housing? Weren't we going to do something like that? Now, this is cluster housing, really.
And that's a great question. That's something that I think we could address, I mean, maybe at site plan review is probably too late, because by that time you've got much more formal plans drawn, but it's something worth considering, I would say, while we're still at this early stage of the game, where we can talk about sort of preserving some open space and getting some type of a break on some of the other requirements. And maybe you've considered that already.
And I know Joe is extremely familiar with all of that, the
Yeah.
engineer, and so that, those discussions would definitely happen, yeah, as part of the process.
And then, if you did cluster housing with this, I like this idea, it's nice, but you need more land. You gotta buy that horse area down there where the horse runs around, 2 horses are running around, they won't even miss the place. And we could have ball fields in there and a place for a community center. You know, if you could buy that place and add it to your property.
Charlie, are you gonna run for selectman? I don't understand what's happening right now.
I'll vote.
Do you have to, all right, so those are all great ideas. If you wanna buy it, look into that. You could maybe, Charlie, pick up the horses. All right, so I don't have any more questions for you. And does everyone else get a chance? Anyone have any additional
No,
questions?
thank you.
Okay, so thank you. Your
you.
friend, Mark, could come back in. And I don't know how this works, Toby. I'm just making sure that tomorrow morning I don't get 15 emails. I'll probably get them anyways. All right, come sit here. I have a question. I want to interrogate you a little more. So, thank you. Okay. Raj, this is what you did.
Don't have a good board?
You fantastic. We all do. All right, so here's my line of questioning. So first, I was under the impression that, trying to figure out why the planning board thought it would be before that. So I got a good answer on that. My second question is, they mentioned affordable housing. Now, I know for a fact that the moment that comes into play, it does not land in the planning board. It's gotta go through a whole rigorous, wonderful, planned out exercise of a year and a half of fun.
Well, not 40B, or un-40B affordables. Like in Angel Brook, there's a couple.
Yep.
You don't even know the difference between them and the regular. I don't know them. But I mean, it's just it just means that unit would go into the lottery for purchasing it, and there's a qualification for the buyer. And it's like almost.
It's more like a designation,
Yeah.
right?
But it's considered as in 40B units, right?
No,
Low
it's just
income.
an affordable, it just qualifies as affordable SHI.
What-
Subsidized housing unit.
Or it will count the number of SHI units.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but doesn't necessarily have to go through a 40B, because it's not, I mean, you're doing a regular.
Now, if we were doing a 40B, that'd be a very different thing.
Right. And it's not like there's one unit that's 40B, it's, the whole thing goes through regular 40A, but they, volunteer for, whatever reason, because they like us, because they go to make these ones affordable. And it's optional, I mean, we ask most developers, but, if you can do it, you can do it, just because it gets us towards our required quota.
All right, so can you please detail for this board, what do you believe is the zoning board at our next meeting, we're going to have a public hearing. What do you believe is before the board? If it's not reviewing these plans, if it's not
It
commenting
would be
on,
reviewing the project based on these plans. I mean, you can review these plans all over the place, and
Yeah.
you can put notes and say, we don't like, whatever, something.
but we wouldn't be voting to actually
And-
make them do that, because that would actually go to your board.
And it would if a specific thing, I would say, be careful not to say, don't do this little bit, because then if they change the plans,
It doesn't come
significantly
before.
for some drainage or something, it might get complicated
But
because.
wouldn't we be actually agreeing to, yes, this is an improvement of, so we're changing the non-conforming use, we're keeping it non-conforming in a sense, but it's okay because it's an improvement. But then we also have to vote to, I'm not sure what we do, but where the bylaw says 12 units.
I mean,
In the, Right.
Yeah.
the
yeah,
number of
so,
units you could-
and wouldn't,
would be-
isn't that what's up for the public discussion? Really?
You could,
Or am I
you
wrong?
could certainly vary or put a limit on the number of units or something like that.
Or say it's fine, but what we're agreeing to has to be with regard to that bylaw, right? It's
Which
twofold.
bylaw?
So we're going on, sorry.
I think we're getting off track here. Because what we're comparing it to is the existing use where there's approximately 40 units right now, depending on how you count it, it's between 39 and 42. And what we're proposing is nearly half of that. So it's completely separate from the 12 regulation. What we're doing is looking at a non-conforming number of efficiencies already existing. We're reducing the number, but all we're doing is altering the pre-existing non-conforming use. It has an approved use already for 42 units.
So the planning board needs to know that,
They do.
too, right? Because that's who
That's
just
a
brought up that
planning board
bylaw.
issue. What you're,
Okay.
the way I understand it from the
All right.
lawyer who's not here and the engineer who's not here is specifically your board is approving an alteration to an existing non-conforming special permit.
And that's what that public meeting is for, then?
That's affirmative.
Okay.
All right, Toby, do you have that?
Yeah.
Write faster. Guess what? You get to say that all over again, just because I want to make sure Toby has that, because I'm actually going to have Toby put
I
that
know, it really
on
flowed.
the agenda when it winds up all over online.
Okay, what this meeting is for, the public hearing, is to alter the existing non-conforming use from 42 units to a 24-unit condominium complex or cluster complex. And that, as far as I'm told, that is all that the ZBA is approving, is an alteration to the existing non-conforming. And then everything else, assuming that goes through, goes to planning board, and it's like any other development from A to Z.
Right, it's kind of like we couldn't let them put that higher density on under regular zoning. You know, and that's what we have to, that's what you have to give us to get out of jail free card for, to let that density go through, and then we'll take it on.
So we could ask for lowering the number of units, right?
I think you have to base
If
it.
if I think the units are too many, the board can ask for reduce the unit.
They're gonna bring their engineer and lawyer in, and then you're gonna have to back it up somehow. You know, because they still have to make money doing this, I guess, is the whole. I mean,
No,
yeah,
no, what it's not my personal view. Comparing to the surroundings, is it too many in that 1.5 acres?
1.3.
1.3 acres, that's
Well,
all I'm looking
except
at.
we've already agreed that it's a non-conforming use, that it's not
40 units.
what it should be, you know.
Yeah, we're actually taking a reduction of, 16, 17 units right now.
And I think you do have to look at it as relative to what they started with. You can't, if you were gonna compare it to what's around there, you just apply the regular zoning and say you're just gonna do what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
I think you have to be a little bit careful, you know, and sensitive to what they're trying to do.
Believe me, our desire, excuse me one second, our desire is to be able to sell these units. And so as
No,
we develop.
I totally understand,
No,
I
but-
totally understand all those points.
But just hear me out. What I primarily do is build high-end houses. And so there's a lot of things that go into making it marketable, including some of the things that you brought up and Charlie's brought up. And as we develop this plan, all of that stuff is gonna go in, because our goal is to sell them quickly and get good buyers, because the buyer who bought last week affects the buyer that's gonna buy next week.
And to Charlie's point, I mean, it may make sense for us to do one of those units as a community center / gym / whatever. So, I mean, those are all things that we solve those puzzles down the road, once we've got the go-ahead.
Also, last meeting we had talked about, do you have any other alternate, the rearrangements of the buildings?
I mean,
Plan?
right now, it's a concept plan, and the reason that we spaced the buildings the way that we did was to try to create that kind of little neighborhood feel, as opposed to a couple of strips, which would be a lot cheaper to build, frankly, if they were in strips. But this way, you're kind of keeping like a neighborhood look and feel.
And I'd say for Lester, I don't want to see another block of four-level rectangular fixtures. And that's what, I don't want to see that. I would never, I'm not for that. No offense, Mr. Femi, the long lines of buildings, just seems to not work. Okay, so I think I have a good feeling from you. I understand, I have the information from you. Toby has the writing down. Everyone here is good on their questions for the informational part.
Yes.
The next meeting we're gonna have is a public hearing. This is gonna be your conceptual plan that during the public hearing you're gonna present. We're gonna get feedback from, I don't even know how many abutters you have, whoever's abutting this property. And that is what we're gonna go off of. Is there anyone on the board that's expecting to see something different for the public hearing? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great
Appreciate it.
evening.
You too.
All right. What do you got? Do you have copies of these? Toby, she needs copies of all of this stuff if she's gonna have to sit on the
Thank
next
you.
one that comes.
Oh, okay.
So all the 90 Sterling Street, Route 12.
Okay.
ZBA member. Yeah, see, I did it nicely, right? Thank you.
All right, so the next item on our agenda to keep it moving is, let's do our meeting minutes. I'm gonna skip. So let's do meeting minutes for May 19th. Is everybody,
He's wondering about the first item that didn't come up, they didn't show up. Are you gonna come back to that if they do show up?
no.
No.
I'm gonna make them, do you wanna,
I'm sorry.
no, do you wanna, do you wanna say anything about this? I mean, they didn't show up, but I'm willing
I just
to.
wanted to clarify the agenda. I think you indicated earlier that since the representative for 94 Main Street didn't show up, it wasn't on the agenda. That was my interest. I just didn't want to leave, and then 5 minutes from now, if they show up, it would be on the agenda. So if you confirm that.
I will happily tell them to leave.
That's all I wanted.
They're all gonna get emails tomorrow. My super friendly ones that I send out.
Thank you.
But look out, maybe they'll be at the next, meeting with an apology.
Next agenda?
Yes, as soon as I get a hold of one of them.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. All right, meeting minutes, May 19th.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes of May 19th, unless somebody else on the board has.
No, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Toby, meeting minutes for May 19th meeting are approved. Can you make sure that they're posted to the town website? Do not want another person emailing me that they didn't go up in time. All right. Hot topic. Reorganization of the ZBA board. So,
Can I make a comment before you even get into this? Okay, I don't know how the board's gonna vote, but seeing is that you've already started this informational discussing with 90 Sterling Street. I know I can't sit on it, but I would feel real comfortable with you staying on as the chair until at least that is over, and then do the reorganization. Unless anybody else on the board has a problem with that, I'm just saying that's.
No, I don't.
no?
Seems to be a good idea.
Thank you. Very excited about that. All right.
So
We can go through the list.
we can do this at a
Well,
further-
I'd still like to do it now. We can just, whoever becomes chair will become chair after that meeting is ended.
Well, I don't know if we can do that
No,
legally.
We did
I
it for the
think that
last one,
once-
right?
no, we didn't do it.
No.
I mean, they don't allow lame duck chairmanships?
No.
I mean, let me just ask you this, do you not feel comfortable staying at least until this is, I mean, you pretty much have a handle on this, so, I mean, I would personally like to see you just stay on till this is done and then do the reorganization. Like I said, unless anybody else on the board has an issue with that, then, I'm all for it.
Well, why don't we see if, someone else is gonna be the chair?
Okay, I mean, I'm just,
Because it was only informational.
Looks like David Femia want to be the chair.
That's what I was thinking.
Yep,
But the thing is that I would not
we
be
should
able
give him
to-
a
I would
chance
not be
to.
able to sit on this. That's the problem. I would have to recuse myself.
Vice chair automatically takes over, that's why you have a vice chair.
Well,
Yep.
then guys, do whatever you need to do. That's fine with me.
Very good point from the audience. You're not supposed to speak.
I'll
Someone's
remember-
gonna put this
I'll
on
remember that
Facebook now.
at your next planning board meeting, okay? I got that right up here.
All right, so I hear do I hear a motion? I've never actually done this. Well, I've tried not to do this. Last time I was bombarded into this. Does anybody want to be chair?
I'll make a motion that you stay on until this is all over, and then we will decide who is gonna be there, but, because you're
Fine.
doing a very good job.
I'll
Thank
second
you,
that
Charlie.
motion.
Fine. We're gonna put this on every single agenda. Every agenda, I'm serious.
until next year.
I feel like this could be illegal. Every agenda item under other business is gonna be a reorganization of the board. Miscellaneous paper and mail.
I do have a few things here.
Sorry.
Let me bring them up.
Just as a note though, I did, I'll bring it up. So for a board with new members coming on and associate members, we did discuss some training for the board on, open meeting law violations and all the wonderful things the ZBA has to go through. And I think it'd be a good, refresher for some of the new people, just to sit through and have town council sit there and go through the training with everyone. So everyone knows when you're in a group of three, you're not talking about any certain topic. All right, what do you have? Give it all to Tim, he's a clerk.
Okay, well, this was just mentioning Robin's appointment. I didn't know if that's just something that,
So let's mention that Robin did set up here. So Robin is now the new associate member to the ZBA. So now we have two. We have David and we have Robin. So my goal is, because they actually show up for meetings, I'm gonna rotate between them. So that way, you know, it keeps it fair, as we have to recuse ourselves for different things. Welcome.
Thank you.
and then I need signatures from, well, if we're going to allow one person to sign time slips, invoices, that type of thing, I need signatures again. It's just that time of year, so.
Okay.
And I believe we need a vote for that. If the votes have not been taken for a number of years and the composition of the board has changed, it would be advisable to take a new vote, and then I have to give them documentation, the minutes.
I make a motion that the chair authorizes signatures for fiscal year 2017 on whoever the chair feels deems necessary.
Don't you think we need another person too? If the
Well-
chair is.
No,
not-
well, and I'll deem
Oh, okay.
the entire board.
So we'll just need a
So
second.
each person will have to sign.
Yes.
And the vote, I have a vote sheet, I think that might have to be signed too.
So do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so I guess.
All right, so I've signed the first one. I'm gonna pass it through, and everyone sign your name. That means you
At the end too.
will have to come to the town hall and sign this time sheet.
Today's the 16th, right?
Yes.
And you'll fill in the line that says name of the department, you'll put in there, the
Yeah,
zoning board
just
of
like
appeals.
that.
Okay.
Do you have any other paperwork, Toby?
Did we hear back on the deposit for the 3,000?
Oh, yeah, I've got some stuff here. Okay, this one first is, I think I had showed the invoice and stuff to you at the last meeting. That was a bill to Telegram and Gazette that I paid.
You
with my
paid
credit
yourself?
card.
Yep.
So it's just that the invoice, that's gonna be signed.
Okay. By all members or just one?
Oh, just by, yeah,
Just
just
by-
by one is fine. Okay, so I have that, and I have this, now, are these all the, can any of the associate members sign, or you rather not?
Do one of you want to volunteer to sign?
Okay, and that is all set. Okay, this was just, for some reason, the way they do it, the, deposit does not show up yet on here,
Okay.
but the checks that were written and paid to VHB show up on here, so this is kind of,
So the bottom line question is VHB all paid up now?
yeah, they are.
Okay,
I
so,
don't know if there's anything further coming from them. I mean, are they still doing anything?
Yep. So they have they'll bi-weekly give a schedule to the board on when they're going to do inspections. What am I doing? You do
Oh,
that.
yeah. It's just, I mean, the negatives mean that there is money in there, so that's just showing what is in VHB accounts so far. And that's not including the $3,000, because for some reason it takes them a while to get that in there. Just so that,
Is this your copy? Sorry.
you can have it, or I'll file that, but it shows that there's enough in there, so.
All right, so the next meeting we have is July 21st.
as far as the inspections for 94 North Main Street,
Yep.
are we going to be getting something from the engineer when they do their inspection?
We've been getting them
Okay.
on what they've been going to the entire board. So they are sent out by Toby to the entire board.
And they're all printed out there.
Yeah.
And whatever I've gotten is printed out.
And right now, you haven't seen any problems? I mean, they...
No, as of today, I haven't.
So they're satisfied with what's going on as far as engineering part?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm not satisfied they didn't attend, but
okay.
we'll
We'll scold
rectify
them.
that in the morning.
So am I sending them an email?
You should probably send them an email. I probably shouldn't. Can you send them an email and tell them that I would nicely like to know why they did not show up? And then I would like, Mr. Dean Harrison?
You want Dean to call you? Okay.
Yes. Not
So-
Mr. Ali.
So he's involved in this still, Dean Harrison?
Yes, he's back.
Okay.
All right. Next meeting, July 21st. First item on the agenda, 90 Sterling Street. Hearing, public hearing. You'll find out from Kim if we have to put that in the paper again, and,
I'll ask her, yeah.
can we make sure that we have an easel for them too during that meeting?
This one is in the map room downstairs, so you can always get it. It's in the building and the janitor can get into the
I
room.
didn't know we had a map room.
So it's in the map room.
But you will be coming, right?
It's right outside of the other meeting room.
Toby, do you have a key for that?
Okay.
What's that?
Yep.
The map room, do you have a key for that?
She doesn't even know where the map room
You know
is.
where
'Cause
it
I know, I was gonna say, don't even try to pretend like you know where it is.
No,
I don't even know
because
where it
I
is.
know the,
You know if that's really what it's called.
I know that Melanie has a key to get in there.
Probably.
Okay,
Well,
so,
the janitor does, I mean.
We will get it.
well, I understand that, I'm just saying, you
Oh,
know,
wait a minute,
Okay.
is that the small room downstairs?
I have a motion to adjourn the
That's
meeting.
right next to.
Motion to adjourn the
yeah,
meeting?
across from the
Second.
building.
All in favor?
I have a key for that, yeah.
Meeting